get anybody to do anything with steady, loving confrontation.
We are discussing 3 books today.
I will read from the second chapter from my novel Death is Hard Work.
I love this book. It's meant a lot to me, and this is terrifying because she's in the room, and I'm a big fan.
A book about don't let the words kill you.
So, Hadley, did you like it as much as Ida?
I loved this book. I so loved it. I couldn't get hold of it where I lived.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this session where we are going to talk about literary festivals, the work we do, and the challenges that it is running this festival. With us today, we have Cristina Fuentes la Roche, who is, on the left, Global Director of Hay Festivals, and we have Wanjiru Koinange, who is the Director of the NBO Litfest in Kenya, and we have Yuliia Kozlovets, who is the director of the Book Arsenal Literary Festival in Ukraine. And my name is Teresa Grøtan, and I am the director of the Bergen International Literary Festival, where we are at right now. We will put aside about 10 minutes for questions from the audience towards the end. So if you have anything you would like to ask, you can think about that now. Today we are going to talk about why the 3 of you run the festivals and the work that you do when the world is burning around you. Secondly, we are going also to talk about not only the physical threats from the surrounding areas where we are, but also the threats from within our organizations, where self-censorship and all kinds of pressure from the inside and the outside is challenging the work that we do. I would like also to say that this event is streamed on YouTube, and I would like to just send greetings to our colleagues from elsewhere in the world who is watching us now. And we've had quite a few. I've had a few meetings with directors from other countries, like for example in Edinburgh, I met the director of the World Pen Voices in New York, who talked then about how he needed to prepare the events in case of ICE agents entering the room. That was early August, and look where we are now. And we have colleagues around the world that are watching this, and I want to in particular send a greeting to Kaduna in northern Nigeria, where our colleagues at the Open Arts Space Festival there is screening this event. So we are a group here in Bergen, but we are also around the world. So back to the stage where we are at the moment. I would like all 3 of you lead very interesting organizations and festivals. So I would just like to start with asking you for brief introductions to the organizations that you run. If you, Cristina, could start, please.
Thank you very much, Teresa. I'm very happy to be here in Bergen at your festival. I work for the Hay Festival Foundation. The Hay Festival is a festival in the UK that has been running for 40 years. And since 2006, we decided to create our own network of Hay festivals in different parts of the world. So I'm the international director. I run festivals in Colombia, Mexico, Peru, Spain, collaborations in Nairobi, in Lviv. And in the last years, what we want to explore very much is new ways of inviting new people to the festivals, inviting new perspectives. It's very important who tells the story and how the story is told. And we are very much, we're very keen to bring the global south and create south to north and south to south conversations.
Yes, over to you, Wanjiru.
Thank you, Teresa. Let me try this is
It will be sorted.
We'll get there. Okay,
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
So I am one of two directors of NBO Litfest, Nairobi Literature Festival, which is organized by Book Bank. Book Bank is a 8.5-year-old organization that exists purely to restore public libraries in Kenya. We adopted 3 of the oldest public libraries in the city, and our restoration and adoption is kind of 360. We take over the building, we take over the collections, and we take over the programming. And the programming is an important bit because that's where the festival sits. We try to do as many things as possible inside those libraries. And because my co-founder and I met running a literary festival, when we had the buildings kind of ready to go, we thought we should set up a festival in these libraries. So Nairobi LitFest happens exclusively in the 3 libraries in Nairobi. It's been running since 2021. We began it as a virtual festival in the height of COVID because we felt the need to gather more than ever before. And we're like, this is a great year to start the festival. And then 2 years into our running, this lovely lady reached out and said, let's collaborate. And since 2023, NBO Litfest and Hay Festival have been collaborating on what is honestly some of the highlights of my work. And it's really grown into a festival that roots the sharing of ideas. But most importantly, it roots public libraries, and we like to bring the world into our libraries for one weekend a year.
Thank you. And you, Yuliia, tell us about the Book Arsenal Festival.
Thank you, first of all, for inviting me and for having all of us, and for this wonderful opportunity to talk about our work. I am director of International Book Arsenal Festival, which is an annual project of Mistecki Arsenal, the leading cultural institution in Ukraine. We are situated in Kyiv, and we are working in Kyiv all our life. And this year we will have the 14th edition of the festival. We have announced our days today, and just like few hours ago it was the release with the opening the open call for participation in the festival and our dates. The dates are the 28th to the 31st of May. Usually we are holding the festival in the end of May, which is the beautiful time in Kyiv. All the chestnut trees are blooming, and people are coming to stay in queue to enter the festival. What is interesting to say about our festival, it's a multidisciplinary event. It combines the fair part. We are receiving the applications from publishers who are taking part with their stands to sell their books, to present their authors, to make the presentations of their novelties. We have also the Fair of Illustrators. We are supporting the small publishers. We have a special edition for small publishers. So our place, which is the old Arsenal building, which was formerly in Soviet time the weapons, the plant of weapons, the military source. Now it's the cultural institution, and you can imagine it's full of books and people who love books and reading. And we are doing programming. The program is diverse. We have the focus theme usually. We have the main literature program. We have a lot of intellectual discussions, and public intellectuals, different public institutions are coming to have the discussions on these socially important topics. In frames of the festival, we have a variety programs and events for kids and teens. We have a very interesting performative program, theater performances, musical program, a lot of exhibitions because we are an art institution, so we are about beauty and about beauty of book as an object. So it's a quite interesting and big event. It's the biggest cultural event, one of the biggest cultural events in Ukraine. Last year we have gathered 28,000 of visitors during 3.5 days. And we continue our work in conditions of the full-scale invasion. We have skipped the festival twice, first time because of COVID, and second time because the invasion started in 2022. But since 2023, we continue our work, and we are organizing the festival, inviting people, inviting guests, including international guests, paying 100% and 50 plus our attention to security, equipping shelter, working with the shortcuts of electricity, working in the really tremendous and very difficult conditions, but we continue our work because the festival is what makes us, doing it. The festival is extremely important for all of us, for our audience, for authors, for all the people. So this is our work now.
Yeah. Could you tell us a bit more about, in practical terms, what kind of limits is this on your work, in your daily life and work as the director of this festival in this situation?
On the very private level, I will say that yesterday in my flat there we had 2 hours of electricity. From 24 hours, there were 2 hours with light. So we are working in the conditions, especially now, last month, after Russia continuously attacking our energy infrastructure. We have no heating, no electricity, no water sometimes because pumps are working on electricity. And all our life actually depends on electricity. It's very strange to understand it once when you have lack of it. So the team is working in really very difficult situations. To have the Zoom meeting, you are looking for the cafe or library which have a generator. We are trying to equip our premises, our office, with also alternative sources of energy to give people possibility to come from their homes to charge the phones and the laptops and to have the instruments to continue working. We are keeping our team, very, very securely, trying to contact with everybody after every attack, be sure that everybody is okay if somebody needs help. So immediately we are trying to give this help and so on. So in this practical point of view, the preparation to the festival, it's like, from my personal perspective, like doing 3 festivals simultaneously. Because you are doing the festival, all the work which all of us are doing, programming, inventing, the new formats, inviting people, doing all the best to make the festival better than before. But simultaneously, you are thinking about building the parallel additional line or network for supplying electricity in case of shutdown. So we are building the additional electricity network from generators to feed our stages, to feed the equipment, to make festival running. We are thinking about security. We're training volunteers and security staff to follow the protocols for security. If there will be an attack, how people are behaved, where are they going, what is with our shelter, how good is it equipped, how many people it can receive, welcome, and so on and so on. So there are a lot of additional pressure and additional work, but we are sure that this is what we can do. This is what is our responsibility. Not everything is, can be solved by us. I cannot stop attacks from Russia. It can happen. Everybody living in Kyiv, in any city of Ukraine now, are under the risk. So people who are coming, they are also accepting this risk. But from other side, the power of festival, the power of gathering of people, of like-minded people, of those who like the similar things, like reading books, of those for whom the power of literature is an important part of their life, it gives so much resource to everybody. It gives us also a power to resist, a power to live furthermore, a power to look into tomorrow. So I'm sure that the festival is extremely important, especially for the people who are living under the existential risk today.
But do you consider that you gather so many people? You said some 20,000. I mean, what if you are attacked?
It's like the same question like what you are doing when you are living in Kyiv, and it can be an attack. All these people who are coming to festival, they are living in Ukraine. Or they are coming in Ukraine, assuming this risk. So it's risky to live in the country in war. I will, prefer that I will live in the peaceful country. But this is the case. I'm living there. It's my choice. I'm doing my job. I'm, responsible person. I believe in what I'm doing, and I know that my people need the results of my work. And this is also what motivates the team. And this is also what motivates the whole institution, because this project is really big one. It's, together 28,000 of people in 3 days. You can imagine that part of work can be done, should be done, yeah? So, it's risky, but it's risky to live in war. Better to stop war, of course. Let's think of how maybe we can do what we can on our level to stop it, or to make a step to stop it.
Wanjiru, in your festival opening in 2024, in June 2024, was cancelled due to demonstrations in Nairobi. And I watched the news here and thought, I'm worried, sending you a message, how you were doing. And I just listened to the WhatsApp voice message that you sent me back that day. And you said, I was out protesting, we've been out. It's a beautiful moment, it's been peaceful. The only violence comes from the police. So we're watching the news, being all worried, and you said that there's beauty in this, what is happening. Can you both give us some context on this and what happened then and why you thought it was a beautiful moment?
Absolutely. I don't remember sending you that. That's interesting. But it was beautiful for sure. So I'll give the room some context. In 2024, in June, the government introduced a finance bill that would essentially double taxes, and Kenya is one of the highest tax countries in the world right now. And it was a proposed bill. All we saw is the cost of living going up. And on the 24th of June, Gen Zs decided we're going to protest. They organized on TikTok and on Instagram. It felt spontaneous if you were not Gen Z, which I am not, unfortunately. But suddenly there were these posters going out. 24th of June, let's show up, we're occupying Parliament. Our festival was opening on the 26th of, no, it was supposed to be 22nd of June, so 24th of June is when we were opening the festival. And the news, as Teresa just mentioned, was all you were seeing is tear gas and young people on the screen being shot and all of this chaos. And Cristina and other writers were texting us being like, should we still come? We're like, yeah, come, everything is fun, everything is fine. It's not fun, but it's fine, because as somebody who has lived and grown up in Kenya, who cares deeply for Kenya, I had never seen organizing in this way. We protest all the time. Teachers will protest, nurses will protest, people will protest, but I've never seen such wonderfully organized organizing, right? And this was also at the height of festival planning, so our team are in the center of the city where protests are happening around them, trying to put this festival together, trying to get the writers in safely. And then our funders are also like, why aren't you canceling this festival? You should cancel it because it's not safe to bring 33 or so, was it 33 writers? There was many of them, I can't remember how many, international writers.
33, yeah.
About 33 international writers into your country at a time when everything is so unprecedented. But we decided to continue because it was important for us as the leaders of Book Bank to honor this moment. We were giving our team time off to go protest in the morning, come back for your staff meeting, and then you can go back and protest if you need to, because it was a moment when we actually saw hope, right? We've been living under a really corrupt and oppressive regime for a long time, and every time we have elections, we think, okay, fresh start. We're going to do this again better, but it never really happens that way. And And while the rest of us were feeling jaded, Gen Z were organizing.
And Gen Z is not a term we use very much in Norway, but
Okay.
it's like the young people, the
youth,
20s,
the young people,
something.
yeah, exactly. Anyone born after, I think, 1990. So we had to cancel our opening because the opening happened at the center of the city, which was the hub of the protest. If you watch any of the footage, our library is in the background where there's tear gas and bullets flying. Macmillan is right in the background. So we canceled the opening, we moved it to another location, and had it the day after it was due to happen. And the reason why we kept the festival, and even the following year kept the festival, was because when people came to the festival in 2024, they were like, we've been glued to our screens for days, watching this happen. We needed a break to come and talk about what's happening, and the festival is a perfect space to come and kind of discuss and see, are you feeling what I'm feeling? Did you watch this link? Did you hear that? What are we doing next? And the festival created that space. And which is why I thought it was really beautiful to against all odds insist that yes, when it doesn't make sense to gather, that's when you should gather more than any other time.
Yeah, that's very
Exactly.
in relation. Yeah. Yeah.
And I also have to mention that we have international partners who, again, it's not just about Book Bank. It's about Hey Festival, their 40-year legacy, the trust they have in writers, and the fact that when we said, come, we will keep you safe, both our writers and our collaborators were like, okay, let's do this. And I really think the energy was really, it was really special.
Yeah, it was, definitely.
Cristina, you have been working internationally with festivals, and Hey festivals have grown, and especially in the global south and in South America. And can you tell us a bit about how you work in this, what you consider, and the locations that you have? The festivals also are not like they are quite places where things happen.
Yes, we have been working for 20 years in Latin America, in Colombia. I just came back from the 21st edition. We've been working as well in Mexico, 15 years, 11 years in Peru. We've been working in Beirut as well. So we are used to complex situations, and we collaborate with a festival as well in Lviv Book Forum as well. And we took writers there, and we have to take extra insurance, extra security. So all what you said resonate a lot with us. Like, we used to do the festival in Jalapa, where journalists were being killed. There was a lot of impunity, and so we were used to practical solutions, like trying to keep everyone safe and making the space happen.
Sorry for interrupting, but can you give us some examples of how do you work like that? What in practical terms to keep places safe?
I mean, as Yuliia was saying, we cannot stop a war, we cannot stop an issue, but we can guarantee as much as we can to have the right insurance in place, have the right protocols for our teams. For example, when we were in Beirut celebrating a festival, is when this Icelandic, you remember, it was a cloud, the ash cloud took over, and what do you do with that? You know what I mean? Many of the writers were in the Middle East, so we could get them back safely. We had a contingency, so always good to have a contingency. Many of the European writers, I mean, it's force majeure. What do you do in force majeure? Wash your hands, or not. We didn't. We just place all these writers with local writers. So there are many, many things you can do. There are many things you can plan and many things you can react. As COVID was a surprise for all of us. And so, there is a lot of, you need resources, you need to do things properly, you need to have a proper, I mean, we work a lot in Nairobi having a proper protocol, what happens if this happens in Lviv. But what I wanted to talk about is like, I think, there is a lot of practical risks, but I think in the last years I've seen as well other type of risks as well, like we live in a very polarized world. We're a festival of literature and ideas. We like to mix into literature as well, geopolitics, as well, philosophy. I mean, I think we all live in bubbles, and we like a lot when in the same panel we sit together, an essayist with a philosopher, with an artist, or a scientist. So we like to mix the different areas of knowledge in one panel. We have divided them in an artificial way. Humanities and science are very interlinked, and geopolitics as well. So I think in the last years we have found a lot of issues with polarization, like issues with sponsors, who sponsors a festival. Many Gen Z, many young people don't want very corporate brands that are linked to fossil fuel or indirectly linked to Israel, for example, to be sponsoring festivals. Or there is a lot of cancellation culture going on. We just ran a festival in Colombia. We invited, for example, Maria Corina Machado, the Venezuelan Nobel Prize winner, to the festival, and a few Colombian writers pull out, saying they didn't want to share the same space with someone that was promoting a new intervention from the US into Latin America. And and that's and that created a bit of a ripple effect, and it really created a lot of noise, interesting as well, about who should be invited to festivals, what are the limits of the discussions, and as well whether it was better for her or for them to get that conversation going on in social media instead of physical spaces. And I think more and more festivals are needed, obviously, to create community, to get together, but as well to really explore the complexity of reality. I think social media is making people believe things are black or white, and there's so many nuances, so many grays, so many things. And I think festivals are spaces to discuss uncertainty. I mean, people don't come here to find certainties, but just to explore all these little grays. Is Maria Corina Machado right to get Trump to help any action in Venezuela? Is she to be blamed for it? Is she trying to do her best? There's so many angles to that issue, and I think I'm just seeing more and more the cancellation culture. If she comes or if he comes, I don't come. That kind of polarized duality that I think is a threat for spaces like this, and we may even have auto-censorship in the future. Oh, let's avoid anyone that has got a strong view. I think this is a very interesting area as well to discuss. But of course, so there are many risks to festivals, not just the context, that of course, but as well that kind of more the risk of the polarized world we live in.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And we experienced the cancellation of the Adelaide Writers' Week recently. It should be held now in February. I don't know if you know about it, but the director, Louise Adler, resigned after her board intervened and disinvited an author, Palestinian-Australian author. And then the whole like 180 writers pulled out. She resigned, and the board and the whole thing just fell apart instead of having the discussion. And I just read the director Louise Adler what she wrote. She says that this weakens freedom of speech and is the harbinger of a less free nation, where lobbying and political pressure determine who gets to speak and who doesn't. And she added, the Adelaide Writers' Week is the canary in the coal mine. Friends and colleagues in the arts, beware of the future. It is really serious, and this is...
But that was I mean, they disinvited this Palestinian writer just because of the issues that happened in Australia, because of the sensitive... That was a big mistake. I mean, the board shouldn't have intervened.
Those things happen now, and more. And how do you balance these issues? Like you told us about the Machado incident, but how did it end? And what was your reaction to the authors who didn't want to participate?
So basically, we invited her just a little, maybe end of October, when she has been given the Nobel Prize. Of course, she's a polemic person, and for many reasons. The context is very complex. And we invited her. We launched it 2 weeks later, like let's say end of November. Then Laura Restrepo, this very famous writer, sent me a letter, but immediately put it on in social media. There was a bit of there were 5 or 6 cancellations. And it's tough because all those people are people we know very, very well. They've been coming to the festival for 20 years. She preferred the noise it created than the proper discussion in a way. And we have been monitoring the situation very closely, but who knew that Trump was going to send the boats to Venezuela? Who knew that that Maduro was going to be taken out illegally? It all became very complicated with reality. We were having every second week meeting with all the team. We had a lovely Christmas, and at the end, for us, we were tempted sometimes to disinvite her because we're on the side of writers, thinkers, intellectuals, and sometimes we invite more political figures carefully. But you need to have a very strong reason. I think it's a big responsibility to invite someone, and it's a even bigger responsibility to disinvite her. So at the end, she became a victim of Trump. So in a way that, in a direct way that was even help us in our context. But at the end, the festival took place last week. She was always going to appear online, because what we did is we changed the format of the event. There was 20 minutes conversation, 20 minutes questions from the audience, and then there was a debate. We included new panels. There was a new panel about neo-imperialism in the 21st century with different people. We got as well, before Maria Corina Machado, we got a lot of letters and complaints from the Jewish Colombian community saying they didn't see any Jewish voices in the festival, and there were many voices talking about Palestinians and talking about Gaza. We listened to them because many of them are festival goers, and we included some voices, some more Israeli voices. So we are a living creature in a way. We listen, we react. So at the end everything went fine. But we were monitoring every time whether we should keep the invitation, disinvite, and at the end everything went fine. But I want to tell very quickly a story. The New Yorker Festival in the US, and the director is Eric Remnick. And in the first Trump administration, the director decided to invite Stephen Bannon to his festival. And when he published, because he had a book, he thought, he wanted to challenge him on stage. And when he published the program, half of the staff and the other invitees pulled out. And what he did immediately was to disinvite him. And and that's an interesting case study. Should Stephen Bannon be invited? In my opinion, I don't think so, because I wouldn't invite. I think the red lines is hate speech. And I think, not that he belongs to the ultra-right. That's fine, we need to engage, we need to have is the hate speech. Although we were talking before, the hate speech as well is a fine line. But then to disinvite him, Stephen Bannon and all his cronies said, you see, they are a bubble. The intellectuals don't want to talk to us. So, it's like, I think we all need to be very careful who we invite, but as well, we shouldn't be afraid. I mean, we shouldn't have this auto-censorship about not inviting, controversial voices. But
yeah. Yes, please.
I will say that really the key word for me personally organizing the festival is the responsibility of an organizer. You should be responsible for what you are doing. So you should not probably use censorship, but you should think carefully what is the goal and what you are doing with inviting or not inviting that guest. Are you re-traumatized, for example, in my case, the audience or the participants of the event? This is the answer how we are, on the proposal how we are answering to take part in the festivals in which Russians also take part. Sometimes I have such a proposals. I am not, in resource now to spend my time and my private resources on Russians, even if they are good Russians, so-called good Russians, yeah? Or, for example, in my case, organizing the festival, I'm equipping this silence room for those who are triggering by noise of the festival, because sometimes people are coming from the front line and for them it's a sensitive issue. So we are doing a lot of things because we are responsible as organizers. We have the moral frame, probably, which, which help us to understand whether this or that speaker will contribute to the festival, will give some more sense, will try to, explain our audience something better about this crazy world. Or we are doing something to, to feel, to make somebody happy. It's not the goal, even if it's a big corporation. So the responsibility, to be honest, for your decisions, to be responsible for them. This is the key word, it seems to me. I will also say that in our case, we are careful with those companies or with those sponsors, with those grantors who are, have any connections with Russia, because Russia is now our enemy. We are living in the ongoing war. This is happening here and now. I am triggered with Russian language, despite the fact that my own parents are speaking Russian, because they were growing up in USSR. And I am triggered by with the Russian language being abroad, for example, because I don't know if it's enemy or a good Russian, and I have no resources, private resources, to spend time for this and to spend these resources on this. I'm in survival mood, just understand me. So being an organizer of the festival in the crazy world, it seems to me it's also the question of a bit wider than the responsibility of the organizer of the festival. It's also the question of how the democracy and democratic world in general will deal with this crazy propaganda, instrumentalization of freedoms of speech. It's not a freedom of speech sometimes. It's just giving a space to propaganda or the hate speech, how you say it. And they are saying that it's a freedom of speech, but it's not. So what is exactly freedom of speech? Maybe we should, rename it, or discuss what does it mean? The focus theme of Book Arsenal in 2023 was when everything matters, and we were talking about the fact that in living in war, we are using the words very properly. It is exactly about being free when we are talking about freedom, being not occupied, being, having the possibility to do what you can and what you want to do. To be free is exactly, Ukrainians understand what does it mean. So maybe for the democratic world, it's also time to, redetermine some democratical wording, and just to agree what we are talking about when we are talking about freedom of speech or freedom of expression. And sometimes it's not giving a stage to anybody. Sometimes it's giving a stage to those people who will empower the society, who will bring some more senses to the audience. And this is why we are organizing the festival, to make the stage the place of discussion, but not the place of propaganda, for example. So responsibility is my answer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I can add a little piece there around also the responsibility to the writer you've invited. In 2024, one of the writers on our program was very vocal during the protests, and unfortunately what happened is when the government was going on a fishing hunt to try and find who are the Gen Zs who are organizing these protests, they would find them and they would abduct them. And one of our writers was one of those individuals. He was very vocal. He was calling out politicians by their name and really calling them to action. And so we're sitting here at the festival thinking, okay, should we still invite him? Because then if we're going to bring them right to our festival. They're going to get picked up at our festival. And you don't cancel someone, because at some point the threats kept changing. At some point the threat was the police potentially harming our guests, harming people who are coming for the festival. But now it became about our writers and about the fact that uninviting them might be the best thing to do for them, because then they're not visible, they're not on stage, they're safe. But we kept Garcia on the program, and what we did is hired personal security for him. So when he was having to drive home, there was a chase car following him and making sure that he's safe until the end. And that's also a responsibility. It's to your audiences, but it's also to the people who are in the space because by virtue of what they do. Ngatia has always been a very vocal activist, and to remove him from the program, even for his safety, didn't feel, and he didn't even want, he was like, I'm coming, let them come for me. When the cameras are rolling, let them come. And eventually he was at the festival, but we had to invest in the security to make sure that he was able to get to the festival, be at the festival for as long as he wanted, and then get home safe. And those are things that I think we'd rather not do, but I think otherwise, if we didn't have to kind of think on our feet and be so flexible, it would make the work a little dull, I must say. But also because it makes it a lot more meaningful when you're having to navigate all of these things for the beauty of art, for the defense of the right to gather and exchange ideas, even if they're polarizing.
I would probably agree that my work will be maybe a bit not so intensive, but yeah, there is no choice. Yeah, we are living in our world, so there is no choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
You all have like a vision, ideological reasons for what you do. You want to improve society and make changes, but why have you chosen this way of doing that? Why through literature and books?
I think probably we were all big readers, a bit nerds maybe. No, I mean, I think, literature and reading and writing and exactly that's my art passion, and creating these spaces, and and I think I've been working in this many years, 20 years, and I can see how the festivals have changed, the same as society has changed. At the beginning, it was more literary, more, more tame, more and more. The world needs spaces, like a third space, like a space to discuss, a space to meet face to face, a space where what I said before, where we can see the different tonalities of ideas, the complexity of our world. I think social media and polarization is really changing the way we communicate, the way we engage. And I think I feel these spaces are even more needed. So, you become very, it's a little drop. But and I think in general with culture, just to experience, it's not the same to see this conversation on a screen that you sitting here together. You are here laughing, listening, thinking together. There is something very important about this physical togetherness. And that's something very intrinsic in human beings. The idea of getting together to tell stories, and nothing is going to, that's very much unique. And I think what we do means even more.
And how did, for you, Wanjiru, your work also on the libraries in Nairobi, where did that idea come from, and why that way? The same question, why through libraries?
So Book Bank started because of a festival, so it's kind of like a full circle moment. My co-founder and I used to run a festival years ago. She was the festival director, I was her producer, and we'd use all of the conventional spaces, hotels and bars and everything with schools, and we're like, we need a literary space for this festival. And one afternoon we got into the car and we started driving to the libraries of Nairobi, and they were all in terrible state. And Kenya has the largest number of libraries in any other African country. We have 49,000 libraries. That includes school libraries and public institutions, but there are many. But they're all in this state of disrepair because the thing about the way that we build them is that you do the infrastructure and forget that buildings need resources to keep them alive. So we have all of these shells that are kind of dilapidated, and when we walked into the Macmillan looking for a venue for the festival, we didn't use it, but the writer in me was pissed off. I'm like, how am I going to write books for the rest of my life for them to end up in a dusty, dark library with no one reading them? What is the point? And for my co-founder, who was a publisher, it was a different version of the same thought. Like, what are we doing if we're investing in the production of knowledge if it goes to sit in a 90-year-old building and die? And that was the genesis for the creation of Book Bank. We walked away from that library on that day. We didn't use it for the festival, but a few years later, I was commissioned to write about my city. It was a moment when I was transitioning, trying to think about if I wanted to go back to journalism, which is my original training. I worked in the music business for a long time. I'm like, am I doing that? But this writing thing kept coming back, and I'm like, let me choose writing. So I was commissioned to write about my city, and I went back to the Macmillan Library, which is the oldest library in the country, and I got to know the history of it. That article became the white paper. It became the kind of foundation document for the formation of Book Bank, because we understood the history of not just that library, but the libraries of Kenya, what they mean to Kenyans, why Kenyans build them so furiously and so many of them. And it did not make sense to then think about the reimagining libraries by taking down what exists. We already have the infrastructure. And all of the libraries, even if they're dilapidated and neglected, they're still being used. People will walk in, because they're looking for a space to commune, a space to learn. And even the Macmillan, with the lack of electricity, the not working toilets, the collection that is 90 years old, Kenyans still walk into that space. And for me, that was what the spark is, that there's a desire for something that's not being filled. We keep saying Kenyans don't read, but I am a best-selling writer and have been for 5 years, because Kenyans read if you give them the things that they can see themselves in. And that was the genesis for Book Bank. We began with restoring the buildings. Then we're like, let's put some books in there that people want to read. And then let's begin to cater for people who don't want to read, but are in the pursuit of knowledge, because we can't, as Africans, continue to prioritize the written word. We did not share our stories in writing. We sat by the fire like we're doing today, and we listened. So in our libraries, you can borrow a book or you can borrow a person. You can attend a program. You can just sit in the corner on the headphones, which doesn't sound revolutionary here in Norway, but let me tell you, in Nairobi, it is life-changing, because we come from a place where people will come and ask you what you need, and you'll tell them, we need libraries, we need hospitals, we need working roads. And they disappear for 5 years and come back again when the elections are coming to ask you what you need. Now, what we do differently at Book Bank is we ask those questions and then we deliver. So we tell us, you want to come to the library until 8 p.m., we'll find the funding to keep it open until 8 p.m. because we can adjust and serve people faster than governments, faster than curriculums, faster than some institutions that are kind of burdened by the dogma of religion and all of that. So we're flexible, and you can do it quickly, and that's why the festival makes sense, because that conversation, that space to kind of hear ideas that will trigger you and allow you to think differently is so important in a country like Kenya, that is trying to grapple with different competing priorities.
Yeah. So it's politically motivated, what you do.
Is it politically motivated? I think everything in Kenya is.
Yeah.
I think you can't. Anyway. Everything is political.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But it's through the arts. But we do have the urge is to make a better society.
Absolutely. And I keep saying we'd like the change to come, and the call is going to come from inside the house, right? Because we're using these institutions that are public, that should be state funded but aren't. But that little revolution we're having, a small little ripples of revolution from inside the house, and then they'll never see it coming. But not told them. So
is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask a question to our panel? We have a microphone here and somebody that can take it if there is anything. Otherwise, I will continue with my questions to you for the next few minutes that we have left. Okay, because I would like to ask you about your audiences, and if you have seen the difference, after the Russian invasion and war in Kyiv, and your huge number of audiences, have you seen? Is there a change in how they take on literature and what they long to have?
First of all, there is a very functional change, because the society, the population of Ukraine was changed. Like, a lot of people fled. A lot of those who fled from Ukraine, mostly they are women with kids. So, for example, our program for kids was usually overcrowded with the kids of all ages, and now it's not. There are much less kids in Kyiv. There are much more women than men, because mostly men are serving in the army. There are much more people in Pixel. They are coming from the army to the festival. They are taking vacation. They are asking their commanders to go to the festival. There are much more people with disabilities because a lot of people are badly wounded, no legs, no hands. We are thinking additionally about all the services for inclusivity. Additionally, putting a lot of resources into, supplying all the conditions for them to feel comfortable. For speakers, for audiences, the same. So there are functional changes. From the other side, there are also emotional and, very, very personal changes in, for example, habits to reading. A lot of people stopped reading in 2022. We were reading news constantly. We were all the time waiting that we will be bombed. There was no place for literature at that moment. But very quickly, when we understand that we are continue living in very difficult situations, for example, we have boom of poetry, because poetry is a very quick answer, the literary answer to the very painful questions. And there is boom of great poetry now in Ukraine. Also, there is high demand on essays, on nonfiction, on diaries, on short stories, because people want to understand what's going on with them, why it is going on with them, without all of us, what's going on with the different people who have very different experiences of living in war. All of us have so much differences in our living, despite the fact that we are living in our country and sometimes in one city. All of us have different losses. All of us have different types of, difficulties of living our usual life. And if it affects the audience, the topics of books which are continue writing. The same I know from writers that they have changed, a lot of them have changed the practices of writing. Those who are serving in the army sometimes have no time, or somebody is diving into writing to, a bit, to go out a bit of the reality. We have the contest of best book design in our festival, and twice the winner of the contest is the great designer who served as a medical person at the front line. And I was asking him, how are you doing it? Like, I cannot imagine you produce so beautiful books. You are doing book design, which is absolutely fantastic. He was the special mention of the World Best Book Design Contest, which was held in Germany last year. And he said that, just think that I'm going to the front line, I'm doing my job, I'm evacuating wounded people. It's awful things what I see. It's so crazy things which I see, and this is my life now. And after that, I'm diving into books, I'm diving into design, I'm diving into beauty. And I am finding the balance, because I will become crazy if I will not do it. It's my, habit, it's the soul of my life. So all these personal things, they changed a lot in the festival, and how it looked before the invasion and how it looked nice. But what makes the festival still the book arsenal as it is all this atmosphere of, the space united by the love to books, the love to reading, all these people who are loving the same things, all these people who are gathering together to listen to stories, to sign the book, to spend time with their friends, to come there with the families, to come to at least for a moment to the safe place to be yourself, And after that, finally, the festival gives a resource to people. We understand that this is probably our mission now, to give some more resources to our people, to support them. Literature and art, this is what can support people, because it's not looking to the news. It's not reading the newspaper. You have the connection with a piece of art as be in a literature or a book or the exhibition, and it makes you a human being. It makes you, wherever you are, a human being which can think, which can ask yourself the question, which can listen, which can read.
Do you have anything you would like to add on the development of the audiences that you have?
For us, for example, we do festivals in very unequal societies. Like Colombia, we do in Cartagena, we do the festival in the old town that is very rich, very close to the shanty towns. So we have a lot of outreach. We're always trying ways all the time how to bridge audiences, how to bring different voices, how to bring different speakers, how to change the conversations, how not to always, that's a day-by-day challenge. And after the years, we have seen, younger audiences, more diverse audiences, but it's a lot of work. But we need to go to places, we need to bring them, we try many things. Colombia, Mexico, Peru, very, very, very unequal. I think the inequality is growing everywhere, but in certain regions even more. And that's something we have got, we are very conscious about it. And I think, as Yuliia was saying, festivals are places for people with curiosity. I think that's that's what unites us. Why do you come today? Because you have a bit of curiosity to listen to what we have to say, and that's very powerful. But sometimes there are so many barriers where we operate in Latin America. There is the old city, not even the ticket price, because it's for free for many events. There are thousands of barriers. We need to learn to know. We need to learn how to change them. We need to get to the communities. That's constantly something we are, very keen to explore. And who else sit at the table? We cannot have always the same people. We are always trying to get. What was very exciting, for example, last year at the Nairobi Lit Festival for me was to see Latin American thinkers talking to African thinkers, and you could see on stage how they fell in love intellectually, how many things in common they have, how many thought process they have both gone, and they haven't met before, because the post-colonial roots are still north, south, south, north. There is very little money and very little connection between, let's say, Latin America and Africa and Asia. It's all from the north to the south and the south to the north. So it's very interesting to break those channels of thought as well. The world is changing rapidly. Like geopolitics, like the failure of the Western world as well is going to be, in the US and even in Europe. And, it's like how we're going to reinvent these new narratives. How are we going to, talk to each other? How are we going to solve the issues about, without thinking and talking and communicating? Yeah, so that's ongoing, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add, and what you said about the festivals you host are in polarized areas. I mean, Kenya is one of those spaces, because in Kenya, or Nairobi specifically, highways dictate the quality of life that you live. So we have this massive highway, Uhuru Highway. Uhuru means freedom, which is such a it's ironic. But Uhuru Highway cuts the city in half. So if you live in the north and the west, then you probably have all the good services. It's where the wealthier population live. It's where blockbusters move. Blockbusters, when they hit, they're in the north and the west. When big stars come, they're in that part of town. And the east and the south, which is where most of our libraries are, doesn't really get those kind of services. There's one cinema in all of Eastlands. And that's my favorite thing about the festival, that for Nairobi residents, if you live in the north and the west, you never go to the south. Unless you're going to the airport or you're going to go bargain hunting, you don't cross that highway. And many people who come to Nairobi Lit Fest and live in the north and the west will tell you, I've never been to Eastlands, it's my first time here. And you've lived there all of your life. It's just because of the idea of, it's not so safe, it's the hood. And when you attend Nairobi Lit Fest, every single day happens in a different library. So you start in the center of the city, in the oldest library. That's why we have our opening ceremonies, where we also have our master classes. And then for the next day, you go to Kaloleni, which is one of Nairobi's richest heritage neighborhoods. It was built by Italian prisoners of war. So you wonder, what were Italian prisoners of war doing in Kenya in the 1940s, and why they built this neighborhood. And then you're attending the festival, but learning about this incredible piece of history between Italy and Kenya. And the third and fourth days are in the biggest location, which is an area that is known for producing some of Kenya's best sports people, some of Kenya's best rappers and artists. But the people who live in Eastlands, all they want to do is get out and go to Westlands and go to the north. But if you're bringing this international festival, with all of these incredible writers and thinkers to Eastlands, which we're telling the people in Eastlands is you matter, and we're going to bring these voices for you, so you don't have to spend your very hard-earned cash to cross the highway and come to the northern part or the western part. We're going to bring the festival to you. And for the audiences who come, over the 4 days, you've seen Nairobi, you've seen all of the nuances, all of the economic disparities, and that's the thing about the way that the audiences shape our festival. My dream now is, because now I think we're having more people travel across the highways to go to the festival. We'd like the people of Eastlands to feel like, okay, it's also ours, because those numbers are beginning to dwindle, but it's a fantastic problem. And I think that's when we begin to have actual Kenyans see just how unequal our cities were built, and maybe we begin to share those resources, because when you travel to Eastlands and you spend your money there, then you're shifting things, right? You're beginning to leave the place better than you found it.
Can I add what?
Small thing, and then we have
What makes me also optimistic is like connecting our festivals between themselves, and connecting all the other festivals, sharing authors, sharing the ideas, sharing practices. Like, this is also about enriching the audiences and about, like, adding some other audiences to us. I'm absolutely happy to send Ukrainian authors to other festivals, to recommend authors, to talk to other audiences, and to talk about Ukrainian experience, Ukrainian culture. I will be happy to invite other authors to Ukraine and to get, loved into Ukrainian culture. I'm absolutely sure that the best place to fall in love in Nairobi library and into literature of Kenya is to go to Nairobi Literature Festival, or to be in love with the Bergen Literature Festival, and through it to unite with you as an audience, and to know more about Norwegian literature, and so on and so on. And this is how the world probably can be saved. Like-minded people will be connected, because we can do a lot of things personally, on the personal level, on the personal level of each of us, if we will be united and if we will share ideas. So all these connections is also about enriching audiences and enlarging them.
So thank you to Teresa for bringing us together.
This is the conclusion. Exactly, yeah, bringing all the festivals together.
Well, I think that was very good and nice last words, that we want to bring people and people together, and through books and reading and discussing and having this open discussions and talks. So thank you very much to Cristina and Wanjiru and Yuliia for coming to Bergen and sharing the stage with me today. Thank you to the audience and to those who have watched.
And thank you to Teresa.
Okay.